Alrighty then. As always, pressing the live button doesn't always guarantee the live stream will start, but let's hope it does. How's it going, guys? Angus here from Makers Muse. Oh man, it's been a while, and to top it off, I'm really sick. I'm still quite ill from that darn flight coming back to Sydney. It's given me a really bad cough, so I do apologize if I have to cut this off because I can't speak anymore. But yeah, it's really good to be back here in the studio, bringing a live stream to you guys. And it seems to be working. Sweet. So everyone in the chat, we got Alex, how you going? Sparky, Centurion, Sabe, Ledger, Jake Block, Chris, Darup, Bill. Thank you so much for waiting, guys. I really do appreciate it. So this stream was going to have Lady Muse in it as well, but she's even sicker than I am, so she is having bed rest and relaxing. Unfortunately, she can't be part of this stream. Because, yeah, just as fate would have it, after a 23-hour flight, we both got hit with space aids. We got hit with a really bad flu from the plane. Anyway, so what I want to discuss in this video is the New York World Maker Faire. It was an absolutely intense, amazing experience. I have a whole box of goodies full of things that people gave me and from the vendors I picked up. Oh, dude, Eddie, thank you so much. You don't have to do that. Oh, man, thank you, though. Get some meds and fluids. I do have water. I've already had some meds. I've got probably not the best fluids, but I do have something. The fizziness really helps clear my throat. I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you. I do hope you're going well as well after the hurricane. That was pretty hairy. And we got Chuck also in the chat. Awesome. Nice to see you guys. So, World Maker Faire in New York was a first for several reasons. Basically, I'd already been to the States. I'd visit the San Mateo Maker Faire, which is kind of the flagship Maker Faire. But the World Maker Faire is still pretty damn big, and it's in New York. It's actually in Queens in New York. And it was the first time I'd ever been to New York. It was the first time Lady Muse had ever been overseas, apart from when she moved to Australia when she was very young. So it was a big international trip for us. And just to put into perspective, coming from Australia, we have a 14 or so hour flight from Sydney to LA, and then you disembark from LA, you go through customs, you go out of through immigration, then you have to chase your bags to another part of the airport to then go back through security, and then you get on a plane from LA to New York, and then you do the whole thing all over again. So it's a pretty horrific flight. It's 14 hours and then about 6 hours back to back. The first flight was late, so we were stressed. It was horrible. But we made it to New York, and the time difference is crazy. Like, it's 10 a.m. here in Sydney. Some of you guys, I've forgotten what time it is in America. I'm still kind of jet lagged, but the time difference is absolutely nuts. It's pretty much reversed. So there was that to overcome, and then there was the fact that New York is the biggest city I have ever visited. We were staying in Queens, which is like quite a far way out of the city. It's like 45 minutes by the metro into Manhattan, but it's on a different level. It was absolutely crazy. So we got there a couple of days early, which we needed to recover, and it was actually pretty good. And then we tackled a few events. So I was really actually fortunate to meet heaps of you guys at the Matter Hackers events. So Matter Hackers pulled together the whole community with various events during the weekend. First one was at the Fat Cat Fab Lab, which was in Manhattan. I've forgotten exactly where in Manhattan it was. But that was an awesome little Fab Lab in the city where basically Joel and a couple other people were on a panel. And I got to meet a couple of people and a few creators. And I have lots of creatory things in this magical box. Let me just pop the chat out there as well. There we go. Dustin's in here as well. Hey! He doesn't look happy. Yeah, so the Fat Cat Fad Lab Club was pretty darn awesome. Maker space, I suppose. And then the event after the first day was the Inventables and Matter Hackers meetup at a massive hotel in Flushing, which is sort of the Chinatown of New York. That was intense, like massively packed, and it was fantastic. I got to catch up with so many people. Actually, to be fair, it was so packed, I didn't actually get to talk to as many people as I would have liked. Like, you know, Joel Telling and Chuck Hellebuck, all these guys were there. But I could only really talk to a couple of people at a time, which was probably my biggest complaint of the whole event, is not having enough time. But anyway, those are the events. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat. And Dustin's already doing his job. And again, just to follow up for you guys coming in, I am sick. I do have an extremely sore throat. And if I do have to finish up because I can't talk anymore, I do apologize. So, World Maker Faire. My reflections on this, and I'll try to answer questions as well in the chat. 3D printing was not a key component of the New York World Maker Faire in the slightest. And it's a trend we've started to see over the last few years. From probably 2014, I would say was the peak of 3D printing in these events, to 2017, where 3D printing at the World Maker Faire was a couple of booths shoved into the corner of the event. Like, there was, and of course there's only one thing that, my phone that decided to make noise. Thank you for that. Someone bought one of my merchandise things. Thank you so much, whoever you are. So the 3D printing was shoved into the corner of the event, and to top it off, that weekend was probably the hottest weekend in New York for a very long time, from what I understand. The second day was 32 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm. These guys were out in the open, which was pretty brutal. So we had Joseph Prusa, who I did interview, and I will be uploading the interview of, showing off the Mark III, the Prusa i3 Mark III, which is incredible. We had Filamentum. This box is Filamentum. There you go. They had a new filament on display, nice sort of sparkly one, and a few other nice things. There was Ono as well, who I did actually want to talk to, but Joel did get to talk to them, which is awesome. I just ran out of time and energy, unfortunately. But they supposedly had their machine printing at the booth, which is awesome, even though it was in direct sunlight this time. All these guys were bathed in sunlight. It was absolutely crazy. It was so hot. Build Tech was there, and I can't keep up. There was Lulzbot, but there wasn't a huge amount of, I suppose, new vendors, and that's the trend we're seeing now, is a lot of established companies, but not so many new companies in the 3D printing space. At least nothing that I already saw. I mean, again, I might have missed things. It was a massive event, but not so much what I saw. So Teddy Bear is asking, if 3D printing hype is over, what's the hot new technique all the cool kids use? That's a very good question. So next to the 3D printing area was a undercover in shade, lucky bastards, area with other companies, and it was mostly CNC. CNC technologies are, a 3D printer is a CNC machine, but CNC in the way of cutting things. That seems to be the latest push. Is Inventables sell lots of CNC stuff. Latest push is CNC machines. So the coolest thing there was the Wazer. So that's spelled Wazer. And I do have a card from the guy somewhere. But basically the Wazer is a desktop water jet cutter. And the idea of the Wazer is it lets you cut pretty much any material like a laser cutter, except it uses high pressure water and a garnet abrasive powder, which is forced through the water through a nozzle at high pressure, and then it cuts the material. It's about the size of a small desktop laser cutter, and it can cut titanium, carbon fiber, like proper carbon fiber laminate, stone, stainless steel, all sorts of things. And they didn't have it working on display, but they were a successful Kickstarter, and they had lots of demonstrated not prints, because there's not prints, but demonstrated parts using their technology. That got me the most excited, because traditionally water jet cutters are hundreds of thousands of dollars and extremely huge and extremely hard to run. This thing was a desktop machine, and it did work, and I was very confident talking to one of the guys. I asked very complicated, difficult questions, and he answered them. And one of the questions that I did ask, which he was a bit like, oh yeah, that's the catch, how much consumable does it use? So water jet cutters use the garnet abrasive. It's a consumable. It's not reusable. It goes through the machine and then you collect it from a hopper and chuck it away. Excuse me. So because it's a smaller machine, it has a lower pressure than industrial water jet cutters. So it uses a ton of abrasive versus the bigger ones because it operates at a lower pressure. Therefore, it needs more abrasion to work. So that's the catch. You need to use a lot of this garnet powder and it's not very fast. Like a part that size with some cutouts might take 30 minutes or so. It was hard to judge because I work in metric and they were talking about pounds. It was a bit confusing, but it did have a lot of promise. And I was like, do you ship them to Australia? And they're like, not yet. So I have my eye on it, but we'll see. Justin, thanks so much for the $5. So you say, I got to be the noisemaker. I bought a sticker. Oh, thanks, dude. Prusa says if the new board will work with the multi-material upgrades. The new board, I assume it will. Joseph did send me the multi-material upgrade on a Mark 2S, which is what it's designed for. The new machine, I think they need to do a few modifications. The issue is it's a different voltage system. The Prusa i3 Mark III is 24 volts versus 12. So it's a big change to all the electronics. So I'm sure I have to go back to the drawing board a bit, but we'll see. Oh, we got Masso in the chat as well. So guys, that's another thing. As I said, CNC is kind of the future, and Masso are an Australian-based company who do CNC controllers, and they're awesome. Go check them out. And they've been kind enough to lend me a CNC machine with their controller attached to it. Now I'm back in the studio. I'm so keen to try it out because, as I said, that seems to be the new push is CNC machines. So you had stuff like Shopbot as well. You know, they were the big sort of they're the big names in CNC. But there's also a few other companies that are starting to fill the gap between prototyping and mass production. And I'll see if I can find their card because I'm now just remembering it. But where are you? There's so much stuff in here. This is the one, I think. Yes. Jacon Systems, these guys. So I talked to these guys for a bit. Quite funny, actually. Initially, they thought I was just wasting their time, and then someone came up for a signature from me, and they were like, oh, okay, this guy might be worth talking to. But they have a injection molding and PC fab lab in China, and they operate from the States, and they'll take your designs. This is just completely out of interest. They haven't paid me anything to talk about them. But they take your designs and then mass produce them. So, you know, help you make the CNC mold for injection molding, which is a sort of a gap that needed to, it's a need that we've been wanting for a while because 3D printing is great for parts. And then how do you make the jump into mass production? So there's now companies popping up that kind of bridge that gap, which is pretty cool. They were also at the World Maker Faire, and it got my attention because I designed a fastener a few years ago, and that was the biggest thing that stopped me from ever taking it to market, was how do I go from this kind of design and prototype to mass production? So now they do it, which is pretty cool. Sorry if I'm rambling. I always ramble. Roberto, a signature, are you that famous? Well, not so much a signature, just kind of like my logo, which everyone who asked me to draw it on something for them realized that I can't actually draw legibly at all. So every time I did it, it would look different. I need to practice how to do that. It wasn't something I expected. Oh, Mickey Man Mike, thanks so much for the £10. Straight to bed to rest after this. Oh, yes. I'm a nightmare. I mean, Lady Muse hates it because I just kind of start working again. Even though I'm so sick, I just can't stop myself. And I get in trouble. Oh, and 3D Maker Noob saying in terms of the Mark III multi-material that, yes, Joseph said it will be compatible at some point. So not yet, but it will be, absolutely. Right, need a sip of my energy juice. One Up the Sleeve Customs asking where in Australia am I? I am kind of near Sydney. That's kind of where I'm based. Cool. So, in terms of stuff that I got, let's try to go through it. So I got a lot of Maker coins, and I do apologize if I don't remember who the Maker coin was from. I'll try to show them. This is one of them, which is pretty cool. It's got multi parts and a little badge. I do not remember who gave this to me. It might have been given to Lady Muse and then passed on to me. But it's a really nice finished print, which is kind of like a shiny blue. I actually bought heaps of my Maker coins as well, but didn't end up giving them all away. Artobot, Steve Abrams. That's a laser etched one. Another thing there was a big push for at the Maker Faire was laser cutting. So all the main guys were there. The biggest issue with laser cutting is the air extraction. 3D printing, you can have it in an enclosed room, doesn't really matter. But yeah, like laser cutters produce poisonous fumes. You're burning things. They're not all poisonous, but they're pretty nasty, and you need to vent them properly. So that's the next step that needs to be brought in. A lot of these booths had big air filtration systems, which are worth more than the laser cutter. That's the next step that needs to be resolved. Mickey Man Mike, damn, it's like my Maker coin but released. It's alright, everyone has a Maker coin. Fun King 3D, I got to meet you finally, if you're in the chat, or you'll see this at some point. That was awesome. I got to meet so many cool makers, and, you know, so many kids. So to put it in perspective, I was actually invited to do a talk with Joel Telling, Bob from I Like to Make Stuff, Becky, Caleb, who runs Make, basically. I can't remember the rest of everyone's names. I'm very, very fuzzy-brained right now. But we did a talk about making on YouTube. And it was fantastic. It was rushed. So rushed. We had 40-ish minutes to talk. And this is like a panel of many people. To talk to people about 3D printing making on YouTube. And asking questions, taking questions from the audience. But the biggest thing that hit me was after the event, in the corridor, so many people came to say hi. So with me and Joel, people were coming to say hi. And the thing that hit me was there's so many kids with their parents. And the parents were saying, you know, oh, thank you for introducing him to 3D design, or to this, or to Fusion 360. And that was incredible. Like, that was such a strange feeling. I'm just a guy who makes videos in my kind of spare bedroom, essentially. And to have that happen was almost surreal. So thank you to everyone who came and talked to me. That was the thing that stood out to me the most, is people coming to me and talking to me after that talk, and actually wanting to give me things, or wanting to have a sticker, or wanting to have a photo. So many photos. That was incredible. I'm an introvert, mostly. So that was just really, really cool. And Arto Robotics, I asked Steve, that part of the Smitty thing, it must have fell off. Oh, okay. So that it must have fallen off the Smitty thing. Oh, okay, it's still the same thing. I got it. So it's the one thing. You put way too much effort into your Maker coin. Yeah, the amount of kids there was so amazing. And then there's the creators. So Evan and Caitlin, I got to catch up with these guys at the Fat Cat Fab Lab, and then during the actual Maker Faire. Amazing channel, go check it out. It's kind of like they're a couple, and they've got their own making channel, and it's kind of vloggy style. I really do like it. Just so many new up and coming creators, and I actually got to talk to you in person, which is something that would never have happened if I didn't come all the way to the States. Me, an introvert. Yes, I am. YouTube originally was created for me so I could stop being so shy. That's why I did it, because it's easier to talk to a camera than it is to talk to people in real life. And then it just tumbled from there. A friend of mine years ago coined the term oscillating omniverts. Oh, Andrea, thank you so much for the $5. Take a look, rest. You look very tired. I hope to see you around Sydney sometime. That would be cool. After going to these events, I do want to see something happen locally. I do not have the time to organize anything, though. It would have to be on someone else's back, which is not really fair to ask, but I would love to see something happen. There is a 3D printing meetup in Sydney later in October, actually, if you go to the 3D Printing Sydney meetup page, I'm actually going to that and talking if you're in Sydney. Other than that, though, yeah, it's difficult to organise something. It's such a big, spread out country. The wise guy said, my friend said he got to meet you. That's cool. I'm so glad I got to meet your friend. Alright, more stuff. So we had the tickets from the event, the media pass from the event, which was the same one from the previous year, the San Mateo. It's just all shoved into one box. Prusa i3 Mark III flyer, which is cool, collector's edition. Preston over at Press Reset. Alright, I have to extend a humongous thank you to Preston for everything he did. So if you're not familiar with Press Reset, do him a favor and don't close this window, but go and subscribe to his channel. Preston was an absolute champ. He is a local in New York. I think in the downtown area, Brooklyn. Don't quote me on that. But basically, he knows New York like the back of his hand. He knows Manhattan like the back of his hand. And he looked after me and Lady Muse incredibly. Also, Aparo, Travis over at Aparo Design, looked after him too. And we went to lots of cool places. We checked out Central Park. I got to see his little studio. I mean, the poor guy is paying an absolute fortune for a tiny cubicle. It's smaller than this room. And he's got it full of 3D printers. It was really funny, actually. Like, we caught up with him at just some metro station, and he came up on his electric skateboard with a camera. I mean, he is definitely a unique personality in terms of that. Like, I would never ride a electric skateboard, I don't know, around here, let alone through the busy streets of New York. It's nuts. But yeah, he's just completely comfortable in that environment, and it was so cool to meet up with him. So he gave me loads of stickers, which will find a place somewhere. I think he was saying it's the original like stickers for his band, and he just reused them. I don't know. Don't quote me on that either. All right. Chat. Robbie. Oh, sorry. Rella, thank you so much for the $5. Was the Ono there? Yes, I did mention it a little bit briefly earlier, but I'll go back into it. Ono did have a stand, and they did have a printer working. So this was confirmed by the Make staff, Caleb, and by Joel, who went and talked to them. So whether or not it was printing well, I don't know, but it was apparently working. I didn't get to talk to them, unfortunately. I ran completely out of time. The second day I was running on very low fuel. But yeah, look, I mean, I was very skeptical early on, and to be fair, there was reasons to be skeptical. They didn't have much proof, but hey, if it's working now, then that's awesome. All the, more power to them. And yeah, I hope they get their machines off to backers soon, because it is delayed. But if it works, that's really cool to see. So yes, they were there, and supposedly it's working. Robbie's asking favorite food while visiting New York. I have to say the food in America was very different to Australia. Like you guys do coffee very differently. It's in like a big vat that sits there, whereas Australia, every coffee is barista. Even at a petrol station, it's barista coffee, where it's made with shots individually. So it's very different. But my favorite food while being there was actually a very incredible pizza joint that Preston Press Reset took us to. So Lady Muse is actually celiac. Her tag on Twitter is the fat celiac. It's a bit of a joke, because celiac means you cannot eat wheat. You're gluten intolerant to the point where it will actually make you very sick if you eat it. It's almost at the level of being like a peanut allergy. It's not going to cause a critical emergency, but it is life-threatening over a long period of time. So she cannot eat gluten at all, like not even a little bit. Not like I'll have a nibble. You can't touch it. It can't have contamination. We went to this pizza joint, and they had a whole page in their menu certified by the Celiac Society of America for gluten-free pizzas. So she hasn't had a proper pizza out like ever, like since being diagnosed. So this was an incredible opportunity, and we had a great time there. So that was probably the best opportunity to have food. Best food we had there was these amazing pizzas, and the fact that there was gluten-free ones as well. But yeah, overall, the place where we were staying in Queens didn't have the highest quality food. We did find duck eggs, actually, so we made duck egg omelette, which was delicious. But the food where we were staying wasn't the highest quality. After the Maker Faire, I did spend a week in New Jersey with family, and the food there was absolutely incredible. It made like they had chickens, and they had eggs from their own chickens, which was just incredible quality. Shivel saying the US does not do coffee, they do brown water. I will kind of agree there. I'm not a coffee snob, I don't drink it much, but yes. I think I will agree there. Someone's asking about the machine behind me. This is the Start. It's a $99 3D printer. I was putting it together yesterday when I should have been resting, because I don't rest. And yeah, it's not bad. I'll be reviewing it. It's a partnership with My Mini Factory and iMaker. So it's essentially a Tronxy. It's a Chinese machine, but it's been rebranded. And someone saying the machine behind me is a paper printer. Yes, it is. It's a Start on top of a paper printer. So you're both right. Trying to catch up on the chat. Jatman saying, guys, please stop asking for CR10 content. He's already stated he's not doing it many times. Yeah, I am not reviewing the CR10. If I was going to review the CR10, it would be making it and throwing it out a window and saying there's the review, because there's nothing I can add to what's already been said. That's it. No more on this chat. Thank you very much, Dustin, for keeping the peace. Ron saying, hey Angus, just saw you live, was watching your 1mm nozzle print. That's one of my funnest videos to create. I like making videos where they're just random experiments that kind of are stupid but reveal interesting points about things. Yeah, I did enjoy doing that. Anyway, back to the content. Well, Maker Faire. So let's go through this box a little bit more. The Happy Extruder. There you go. Got to catch up with him a little bit. That was awesome. Another YouTube creator. It's all kind of jumbled up, unfortunately. No, so much stuff. I did get more Maker coins, but I'm not sure where they are. Yeah, I do apologize if you gave me a Maker coin and I haven't shown it. I'm not exactly... They might be in the bag elsewhere. But anyway... My take on the World Maker Faire is it should be more for the creators rather than the vendors. So one of the coolest things there was like the events. So there was the Power Wheels event, which it's not called that, but it's essentially like little kids ride on toys that have been modified with 2 horsepower electric motors, and they race them around a track. I would totally do that if that existed in Australia. I would 100% do it. So that was awesome, seeing these guys race these things around the tracks. There was robot combat. I tried to say hi to Charles, but he was shoehorned into running it. They were running, I think, beetle weights, maybe some mantis weights, and they had like a featherweight just kind of in the arena, being a hazard. I love my robot combat, but unfortunately, being such a packed event, it was completely flooded with people. I didn't really get to see it. And also, I was very busy running around. And then there's just people with all this Burning Man stuff. So like a dragon which was breathing flames. And there's also some guy I met called Dade who had like a full medieval suit of armor and rode a bicycle where he was just like sitting like way up on top of it. Completely handmade. That was fantastic to see as well. Yeah, Fun Kings 3D saying, yeah, too many people selling stuff. That was my feeling too. Yeah, you can't sell things at the World Maker Faire because they charge so much for entry. People going into these events do not want to purchase things once they get in them. They want to experience something. It's like going into a museum. You don't pay to go into a museum to buy things. You pay to go into a museum to see the museum. So I don't think these Maker Fairs are a place to sell things. A lot of people have realized that. A lot of vendors I talk to are like, we're not here to sell things. We're here to basically promote. Which is why, Joseph launched the Mark III at the Maker Faire. It's a good time to do that. But also explains why there's been a shrink and a crush in vendors actually being present at these events. It costs them a fortune as well to exhibit. So it really has to make sense in terms of return on investment to actually bring a product to Maker Faire. Whereas if you're a maker, it's much cheaper. You can just present random prototypes and projects, and it's a lot cheaper to be at these events. All right. So what else? I mean, feel free to ask me questions, guys. I will try to jump into them. Angus, did I see the frog on the little bike? Yes, was that Kermit? I did see a little frog on a bike. Absolutely. Trolling around. And I saw like a robot triceratops kind of thing. That was pretty cool. Just I like the idea of people using technology to make just random wacky stuff. Like that's totally cool. And yeah, Roberta's saying it's actually totally free for makers, which is that's exactly it. So to go there as a maker makes more sense than to go there as a vendor, where it costs you an absolute fortune. Proper museums are free. Yes, in America, not in Australia. We have to pay for our museums, but not too much. I did actually go to the New York Museum of Natural History, and that was incredible. So yes, you don't have to pay for that. I did pay a little bit, but you don't actually strictly have to pay. And I got to see the mummies, which was cool. Let's see if there's any more maker coins in this box. It's kind of all just been shoved in. More Preston stickers. No, sadly not. No, sorry guys. There's only so much stuff in that box. I got a lot less stuff than I did at the Bay Area Maker Faire. Maybe because I wasn't specifically saying I was going to hand out maker coins, because I didn't want to get swamped. And I wasn't in one location the whole event. I was wandering around. Jatman's asking about Murph 2018. So in terms of international travel for myself and Lady Muse to get from Australia to the States, it is insanely expensive and insanely time consuming. So although we were there for 2 weeks, I've actually lost like a month of time and a lot of investment. So to put it in perspective, we financed this trip ourselves. So there was no sponsors for Makers Muse coming to the New York World Maker Faire. And that was intentional because I wanted to cover the event in a way that I wanted to. I didn't want to be obliged to produce content or do events or things for other companies that wouldn't fit into what I want to do there. Like, if the event was terrible, I didn't want to have to come back on the Sunday. And likewise, if there's other things I wanted to cover versus 3D printing, I wanted the flexibility to do that. And it worked really well. But it is extremely expensive to do it like that. So in terms of traveling to the States again, it's probably going to be a once in a year thing for us because I've lost a lot of time on the channel. As you guys would have noticed, there was no content for 2 weeks. Everyone was very patient, but that does slow down my income stream and slow down my, rate of growing Makers Muse as a business. So I don't know if Murph's going to be a thing for me. It's just so far to go. I mean, it's rural USA versus, and I'm in Australia. It's not an easy thing to achieve. Anyway, someone said paddle boats. Yes, there was a booth with paddle boats, 3D printed, and they're all custom designed, and the idea was to race them. That was one of the coolest aspects of seeing 3D printing being used that I did notice there. It's actually really neat because it's a way to get kids involved in design and make it fun. You gamify the learning process by designing pedal boats with 3D printing. So I really did enjoy that, actually. I might even do a video of my own take on it. Teddy Beer is asking, any news about 3D printing electrical conducting filament to create PCBs? No. I would not pursue that. The idea of having 3D printable conductive filament is kind of I wouldn't chase that. I would just etch. Etching stuff with copper clad PCB is so well established. Trying to 3D print with conductive inks is interesting, but I kind of think that ideas died off a bit. There was nothing that I saw pursuing that there. Shivel's asking, how was the trip through customs TSA for the US? Look, I got felt up many times going through that. I was wearing some baggy pants because it's a flight, it's uncomfortable. They take that as an opportunity to feel you up completely. And yes, every single time I was pulled aside and just, done, essentially. You're treated like cattle, and that's just how it is. Flying is an absolute nightmare. And yes, I totally get it. Flying, you want to be completely safe and fine. That's why I would tolerate it. But I mean, to take out your food and not allow any water or toothpaste beyond a certain size, it's a bit ridiculous now. I will be completely honest. but it's just what you have to put up with to travel international. It's you are cattle essentially, and you're fed through the machines. Anyway, and Dustin's a bazillionaire. He can pay for it, Angus. Hey, Dustin's welcome to sponsor it, but no. Yeah, Fun King 3D. Someone should start a GoFundMe to get me to Murph. I did think about doing a crowdfunding thing for me going to New York World Maker Faire, but again, there's obligations to you guys. I would have to fulfill certain things, and it doesn't remove the fact that I lose lots of time to run the channel. Essentially, I'm a one-man band. Lady Muse helps, but I make the videos, I make the content, I do the editing, I run the channel, and if I'm not here to do it, nothing happens. Right. Yeah, Mac is saying business attire in business class makes it so much better. Yeah, I think if I was going to next time to fly, I kind of have to do business class. The coach class for 14 hours pretty much killed me. And I don't want to sound like a snob by saying I need to go business class, but I think it's a necessity if you want to be functional when you arrive at your destination. If you're just traveling home and it doesn't matter, fine, fly coach, get your back destroyed and don't sleep and then, spend days recovering. If you have stuff to do, yeah, you kind of need to rest, and you can't rest in coach. It's absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I'm not going to comment on the security thing anymore. I do completely agree with you guys, but it's not like a topic I want to get into, unfortunately, especially with all the stuff that's happening in the world right now. It's unfortunate, but it's just how it is. Shivel saying when I was going through customs, they pulled me over for looking too excited. Yeah, they didn't like me having my passport on me. They said it has to go through the scanner. I was like, I want to keep my passport on me. Anyway, so that's going to do it for talking about TSA. So my experiences with New York was fantastic. I got to see squirrels for the first time at Central Park, which was adorable. I mean, we don't have squirrels here, guys. They would get eaten by snakes instantly. We don't have squirrels. And to be fair, New York to me felt not too unfamiliar in terms of the metro layout to Sydney. It's just a lot bigger. So I did feel quite comfortable there. And I think the New York World Maker Faire is an event I will attend in future. But yeah, it's a little bit sad to see 3D printing shrink. And it's something that I have expected and something I've seen for a long time. But I am interested to see what the next thing that comes out is. I don't think maker products and machines will die as a category, but the 3D printing this year was literally shoved in the corner near the toilets in the open sunlight, and I felt horrible for Joseph Prusa had the sun beating down these machines. The filament sensor was false flagging because it's an optical sensor because the sun was on it, so they had to cover it in tin foil to stop it false flagging. And the poor build tack people had it directly on them. It was just a little bit how's your father in terms of how the 3D printing stuff was treated. And it might have something to do with the cost of the booths. It might have something to do with that just companies don't need to attend these events anymore. I'm not sure. But it was interesting. I don't know if it continues. It's kind of why Makers Muse was never just about 3D printing. It's why it's evolving. And there was not a sign, there was not anything to do with this whole event of the cheap Chinese 3D printers. Nothing at the New York Maker Faire even resembled that. Which was really interesting because, you think the whole community is made up of cheap 3D printers. Nothing there, not even makers had them on display. They were all decent machines. None of them were cheap, crappy machines, which was pretty interesting. And Robbie, thanks for the $2. You totally don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. Right, sorry if I'm rambling a bit. I will probably cut it off soon because my throat is dying. Devin's asking when will I do another giveaway. I'm not planning to do giveaways too often in future because I don't feel they do the channel any service. I have plans to do with my massive backlog of 3D printers, But giveaways attract people who sign up just to get a 3D printer, and then when they don't win, they unsubscribe. And that looks terrible in terms of your stats. You see like a drop. And I don't think it really does much to grow the channel properly. I think in terms of what I want to do is produce valuable content that people subscribe to watch and stay subscribed to see more. Not, oh, I want to win a 3D printer and I'll subscribe, and then, oh, I didn't win, I'll unsubscribe. So I'm not really that keen on giveaways. And Chris, thanks so much for the $2. Harib's saying, what might be the reason 3D printing was so much dimmed down this year? Yeah, well, going back to it, I think the hype's completely gone, and I think that a lot of people have been disillusioned by really cheap, crappy machines, and there hasn't been much innovation. It's sad that it's up to Joseph to push the innovation by bringing a machine out that has the filament sensing, that has the collision detection, that has these new features that have been possible for a long time. It's sad that he has to do it to then sort of kick the rest of the industry in the butt to be like, okay, you can't get away with this anymore. It's not 2011 anymore. These machines aren't just dumb with stepper motors that take step and direction in and then do nothing else. They need to detect if there's a collision. They need to detect if the filament stops extruding. So I'm really happy he's done that, but it is a bit annoying that has to happen, that no one's really being innovative enough. And what's pissing me off so much now is there's still new machines coming out on Kickstarter that just are terrible, that don't have any of these new features, and they're on Kickstarter. Why would you back a machine on Kickstarter if it doesn't have features and a price comparison to machines already on the market? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. So that kind of annoys me quite a bit. Yeah, and Curie's right. There's also new hardware like the Duet Wi-Fi. There's makers creating... I just ordered one, actually. It's called the O-Drive. It's a board that controls hobby-level brushless motors like servos by using an encoder. That you get incredible torque and speed off hobby-level motors for CNC applications. Why does it take in some one guy to be like, why doesn't this exist? I'm going to create it. Why has he had to do that? It's a bit frustrating, I'll be honest. People have just been doing the same thing again and again and making it cheaper. And that's not how we evolve as a community. Yeah. So Eric, basically the same thing that happened to VR. Yes, essentially the same thing that happened to VR. People complained about the cost. The cost was brought down at the expense of quality and features. And then everyone's like, oh, this is crap because it doesn't have any features. Yeah. It's a catch. It really is. Yeah, Ian is actually bringing up a good point. TCT. I've heard a lot of good things about TCT, and in fact, it might be the event we go to next year. I'm trying to weigh it up. It was straight after Maker Faire. So after seeing some of Tom's footage, that seems to be where everyone who's serious about evolving and growing the community actually goes. Because Joseph went straight there. Filamentive went there. And it seems to be the event for 3D printing innovation. Whereas the Maker Faire seemed to be pushing it to the boundaries and more about other things. Which, yeah, fair enough. Maker Faire it's general. But if we're going to go to cover things as a 3D printing 3D printing channel, then maybe TCT is better. Anyway, lots of things to look at. Okay, a couple more questions, guys, and then I will kill it. I am pretty dead. I really do appreciate you guys jumping in and joining me. As I've said, this is sort of a kind of a recap. I have heaps of footage to edit and put together, and I just need to get better before I can do that. Because, yeah, getting sick after flying 23 hours is great. Fantastic. Excuse me. Golden is asking, have you ever wondered what is Maker's way of make through the world? I'm French and don't see many of them here as in the US. If you're talking about Maker Fairs in different countries, Make is like a brand where people can license their events under the Maker Faire brand. It's called like a mini Maker Faire. There was one in Sydney. It was pretty terrible and they stopped running it, probably because they lost the contract. But there's one in Rome, for example, you might be able to get to pretty easily. I don't know if there's one in France, but there's mini Maker Faires all around the world, and they're not necessarily mini. It's just the sub-brand they sit under. So that might be worth checking out if there's one near you. The whole Make website has them listed, which is pretty cool. And Eric's saying I'm on the O-Drive forums. Cool, you'll see me there very shortly being like, I don't know how to make this thing work. I have no idea. I'm just trying to make it work with step and direction, which it's version 3. It should work pretty well, apparently. Right. Mini Maker's asking, what's a good place I can get thermistors other than Amazon? You can buy them directly from specific resellers like Matter Hackers, or you could buy them from eBay. You can buy them from AliExpress. It doesn't really matter. They should be cheap, like a few bucks. But yeah, it just depends how quickly you want them. If you buy them from a place in the States, they'll get to you quicker. If you buy them from China, they'll take you 3 weeks, but they'll cost like $1. Yeah. Yes, apparently the Rome Maker Faire is huge. So that would be cool. That would be very cool. Kevin's asking what the synth, the synth next to me is. It's an Alesis. I'm not well. It's a pretty basic MIDI keyboard. Actually, it just connects via USB. But it's what I use to make my music. It's pretty good. It's got a nice sort of weight. It's not too hard, not too soft. Good amount of weight. Timothy's asking how many 3D printers do I own. That's a good question because do you classify printers that suck as printers that I own? I have many machines that are no longer used because they just suck. The machines I use on a daily basis are probably the Up Mini 2, the Prusa Mark II. I've been using the Zortrax M300 a bit. I need to review that. So I probably only use about 5 printers at all regularly. I did use the Form 2 a lot before I had to send it back. Sad face, because it was just a loaner. But I do have probably over 20, but a lot of them are terrible. I mean, a lot of them have been pulled apart. They were kits, and they just were terrible, so I took them apart and used them parts for other things. It's just part of the course running a channel about 3D printing reviews. You get lots of machines, but they're not necessarily all good. So you can't give them away because you're not going to give someone a crap printer. I'm trying to figure that one out still. Practical Printing saying there's a Maker Faire in Tokyo, which sounds pretty cool. Might check that one out. That's a little bit closer than the States. And one more question, guys. The Wise Guy's asking, can I make more BattleBot videos? I'm definitely going to make a mini robot. That was something that people asked me actually at the Maker Faire, if I can do more like combat robot videos. I'm not going to do what I used. Some of you might not know. There was another channel I had about making combat robots. I'm not going to do that level of tutorial, but I will probably do a 3D printed small, like ant weight size robot. They fit on the palm of your hand. Definitely going to do that. But again, it's just about finding time for various projects. I have so many things. I wrote them down. I had like 3 A3 pages of like videos I need to do, and it's like, great. I'll just, when can I finish this? But yeah, I will do at least 1 or 2 more videos on small battle bots. Right, guys, that's going to do it for this. Thank you so much for watching. Just to recap, New York World Maker Faire was absolutely incredible. Visiting New York was amazing, in Manhattan and seeing the city. And meeting you guys at the event was fantastic. It was absolutely mind-blowing how many of you actually knew who I was and came up and said hi. And I have heaps of footage that will be uploaded over the next few weeks, next 2 weeks or so. But right now, I'm going to relax and get rid of this stupid cough because I can't go to the hairdresser to get my hair cut unless I don't have a cough. So that's my plans. But have a great weekend, whether it's nighttime or daytime, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Have a fantastic weekend, guys. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much, Ron, for the tip. Buy some tequila and lime. Does wonders for a sore throat. I have some vodka. I did bring back some Tito's vodka. That might do the trick. Thank you so much. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you again very shortly here on Makers Muse. Catch you later, guys. Bye.